cookie sheets are these really dark, well, they're not really dark, they're black. Cookie sheets, they came with my oven, so sorry I can't tell you where to get them. But I like them because they heat up really well and they make the bottom of your cookie super crisp. I'm going to line this with parchment paper. I always line my things with parchment paper. You can use a silicone mat. I don't like to use a silicone mat because sometimes the bottoms don't come out as crisp as I'd like them to. So I always use parchment paper. You know, a lot of people say parchment paper, what a waste of time. But if you line everything with parchment paper, not only does it help you clean up really fast, but it saves your pans from getting all yucky. If you have an aluminum baking pan, a cookie sheet, and it's black around the edges, it's because you didn't use parchment paper. Okay? So use parchment paper, it's worth it. You can buy parchment paper in sheets, already cut. You can order it from cooking supply stores, catalogs. Just go online. I have a friend that keeps a box of quarter sheet parchment paper on top of her refrigerator, and she just reaches up there and pulls a sheet out and lines her cookie sheets. Super quick. Alright, doesn't have to be fancy. You see, my edges aren't perfect. Alright, the key and secret to a professional looking cookie is to use a scoop. Alright, that will give you uniform cookies. You just scoop it out and you're going to plop it. Now these are going to spread a bit, so don't put them close together unless you like your cookies all squished together. But I like mine to be individual. You know, the first batch of cookies is my tester cookies. I'm going to bake these up, see how much they spread. And if I'm not happy with how they're baking up, I'll adjust the batter or the cookie dough just a little bit. May need to add another little bit of oats or some more of my wheat flour. I'm hoping that they're going to come out just perfect. Alright. Okay, there's one down. Now I do have a true convection oven, and I usually bake a couple of sheets at a time. If you don't have a convection oven, that's just an oven that has a hot air fan that blows hot air around in your oven, so you can bake 2 or 3 cookie sheets at a time, and they'll all bake up beautifully without having to flip them around or, you know, do anything funky to them. If you want to bake more than 1 sheet of cookies at a time, go for it. If you don't have a convection oven, you can do that, but you'll have to rotate your trays, you know, top to bottom, and turn them around to get them evenly baked. And I'd rather just bake them 1 at a time if I don't have a convection oven. But I always like to have another sheet made up and ready to go to use the heat of that oven the most efficiently, not have to scoop out a whole nother thing of cookies while I'm waiting for while the oven's sitting there hot. So I always have another sheet of cookies all made up. And it makes cookie making go so much quicker. If you're anything like me, you get to that last batch of a big batch of cookies and you just want to spread them all on there and make bar cookies because you're so tired of scooping and baking cookies. Another fun thing to do, and this would work beautifully with this cookie dough, is to make up the cookie dough, bake a batch, and then put the rest of the dough in a sealed container in the freezer. And then whenever you want cookies, you just pull it out of the freezer and scoop out a batch of cookies, and voila, you have freshly made cookies. Another idea is to scoop out your cookies like this and stick one of these cookie sheets in the freezer. If you have enough room in your freezer, stick one of these sheets in the freezer and freeze the uncooked cookie dough that you've put out in scoops. And then you can put them in a bag or in a sealed container, and you can just take those out and bake a couple at a time. You can either even bake it in your countertop toaster oven. Fresh 1 or 2 cookies. You know, in the 80s when I was a teenager, microwave ovens, they'd been around for a few years, but they were really catching on. And anybody out there remember making cookies in the microwave? You know, didn't turn out so good. Had to do with paper towels and stuff, but you have to be a little desperate to microwave a cookie. It just doesn't do it. All right, we're going to stick these into the oven and cook them for about, I'm going to time it for 9 minutes. Get it started at 9 minutes, and then I'm going to see if they're done yet or not. If not, then I'll just pop on some more time and cook them a little longer. Alright, so I'm going to see you back in about 9 minutes. We'll take a look at these cookies, see how they're cooking up. Okay, my oven is beeping, so let's check them. I did check them at 9 minutes and they needed a little bit more time, so I cranked it up another 3 minutes. I think they're going to be perfect now. Oh, yum, they smell delightful, peanut buttery, hint of apple. I'm going to stick my next one in. This was 12 minutes. So I'm going to put this one on for 12 minutes. At 350. There, that should be perfect. Now these are a little bit of a softer cookie, so don't be in a big hurry to take them off of your cookie sheet. Another nice thing about using parchment paper is you can take them and just slide the whole parchment paper right off into your counter. And then your cookie sheet is freed up for your next batch. I'm going to look in my bowl. You know, I don't have much of a batch left. Probably maybe a half a dozen or so. But it's definitely worth baking. If my boys were around, this would be tasters for them. They just get spoons and go to town on this raw cookie dough. One of my boys, I think he likes raw cookie dough better than baked cookies. We exchanged names for Christmas, and one of the boys got his brother, and he bought him a tub, a 5-pound tub of cookie dough. And my other son was in heaven. I don't know, I guess that's youth. I wouldn't even think of eating a whole tub of raw cookie dough. Not even when I was a youth. Okay. Looks like I'm only going to get about 5 more cookies out of this. Alright, stick that in the sink. Alright, if we take the official count of how many cookies I've made 3, 6, 9, 12, 1 dozen here, 1 dozen in the oven, plus a few extra. So about 2 dozen cookies. Little over almost 2.5 dozen cookies, and they're nice sized cookies. Alright, I can tell that these are ready to take off and put on a cooling rack. I always like to cool my cookies on a cooling rack instead of on the counter because the moisture from your cookie and the heat will make the bottom soft. If you like a soft bottom, keep it on the counter, but I like to put mine on a cookie sheet or a cooling rack, so that's what I'm going to do. Let me find my trusty helper, my spatula, just put them on my, see how nice parchment paper is? Parchment paper is your friend. Whoops. Sturdy cookies too. Alright, now after I bake these up, I'm kind of sorry I put in that extra flour. But I think they're going to be amazing regardless. You just throw your parchment paper away and you're all cleaned up. Okay, let's break one of these in half and see how we did. So good. Now, you can put raisins in here, raisins and peanut butter and honey and apples. Sounds great to me. Throw in some chocolate chips. You know, cranberries. It's kind of endless. I don't know, cranberries and peanut butter, maybe not so much, but hey, I bet you could give it a try. Wouldn't be so bad, would it? Alright. You know, these last because they're moist. And they freeze really well. And they're durable enough to pack in a lunchbox. Another thing you can do with these cookies is you can fill them. So good. You can take some of that peanut butter and honey mixture or just some plain peanut butter, stick them together and make little peanut butter sandwich cookies. That would be amazing as well. Alright, I think this is a winner. I hope you'll give it a try. Play around with it. Make it your own. Remember, no recipe is so important that you can't make it your own by adding a little this, a little that to make it exactly what you want. We'll see you next time.